What is up, guys? How's my audio? It's your boy JRC. Right in your face. Let's fix my hair. Boom, boom, boom. Crypto in the Morning is live every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern, guys. How's my audio? How's everyone doing? We have a lot to talk about. Crypto.com. You guys know I'm a big UFC fan. I see Crypto.com. It's on the stadium down. And I think that's what the stadium is like logoed after over there down there in Vegas with the UFC. And interestingly enough, all these exchanges, Sam, people can swap money between these exchanges too. Funny enough, they can move their funds in and out of them. And it seems like SBF and the squad had exit plans. And they were on everyone's, oh, wait, this involves me? Oh, wait, yes, it involves you. Because they're injecting money into everything. And when you find out really what's going on, boy, it's like almost too much to handle. You just have to like pray that God like intervenes. Because you're just like, these guys are bad, man. Like, you don't know, like, gosh, I wish I could say all the stuff about the dirty politicians, but we're not allowed to. So let's get on with it. We got a explainer clip on what's going on. Sam's gonna pretty much know what's going. It's all pretty self-explanatory. SBF is running amok with all his funds around all these assets into all these other companies now, liquidating them for all they're worth because he's, it's horrible. It's disgusting. It's not good. And I'll say one thing about yesterday's stream, just because I got like 500 messages. Guys, the conversation with Richard was not that big of a deal. Just chill the hell out. You guys are freaking out, man. Like, I'm not on anyone's team. I'm just chilling, man. I'm having a good time. I'm learning with Sam. We're just having a good time. Everyone has their own life. I got T-shares. I got Zen. I got Icosa. I got Hedron. We're all just in this together. And we are going to Cryptographics is going to be coming on in 30 minutes to talk about what's going on with Icosa and Hedron. Actually, I see green candles, but I hear there's bad news. Guys, Crypto in the Morning, every single day. Make sure you're smashing that like button, and I'm going to drop the link for the tweet right down below. And Crypto in the Morning, guys, DeFi proof. The GOAT.
You already know what time it is. Crypto in the Morning. Crypto in the Morning. Crypto in the Morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the Morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the Morning. Crypto in the Morning. Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hacks and I'm making a stake. Got me some Hedron, I'm making it rain. Pay me some Maxi and that just in case. Jim Reddit sent me to show you the way. Crypto in the Morning. 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 Crypto in the Morning.
What a wild time. We got this going on with the FTX stuff, and this is going to have everybody scrutinize all the other centralized exchanges. We already knew that we were in a bear market, and Crypto.com is spending millions of dollars on Super Bowl ads, naming stadiums for millions of dollars.
Well, they're leveraged. Their liquidity is all leveraged.
Is
that what they do? They buy marketing stuff, go on marketing campaigns, and they just leverage their liquidity, go for the power play, and it just gets pummeled because they know an idea about crypto.
If you had to guess, do you think that Crypto.com is going to go under on this one or no? And then I'll give my thoughts.
No.
What
does under mean? Good, forever gone?
No, just bankrupt or sold to somebody else.
I don't know enough about the founder, but why don't we watch this video real quick? You'll tell me your take first.
So I think that Crypto.com personally, I don't know enough about the details, but if the first rip, I think this is people scared because FTX and that they're taking the same lens that they look at FTX like a scam. and they're using this to scrutinize crypto.com. When we agree that crypto.com, like any centralized exchange, Binance, Coinbase, KuCoin, doesn't matter what it is, you should not have your coins there at all, period. But I don't think this is going to put them under, but could be wrong over the next.
Sam, but you won't say that in the bull run, by the way. Like we'll have a different discussion about it. I mean, it's not like you're saying that now because it's just a dead set fact. Like, and 90% of your money should not be, probably, maybe 80% should never be. But I know some guys that made forever wealth on Celsius, and they bought it at 6 cents, and it went to $8. It was there for 2 years, and I remember all of that. I didn't.
We're going to see this again, though. We're going to, like you said.
So again, these things can rebound by brand name, but who's the founder? Who's the little limp noodle at the bottom of it? Generally, they have to have a little bit of gusto to, if you know what I mean, to keep something going. Like they have to care. That's where it all comes in. Is there a dude sitting there on his last depression spill that has $100 billion that just has nothing to live for because he doesn't care? Potentially. And there could be a young, vibrant young man that's just dedicated to crypto.com. I mean, crypto.com is a website. Like, geez Louise, that's tough to get rid of. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you get rid of that? Anyway, let's just watch, Sam. You tell me to stop if you need anything. And I think you're gonna find some stuff interesting here, Sam.
Why don't you give us a little bit of a preview?
Where do we go from here?
Well, it's just a video going through why crypto.com could potentially be the next to crash. That's really all it is. So I should have done that. And the video is from Mr. Satoshi Stacker. Oof, rough name. We'll give him a like, though. But I watched this video over once, and it kind of breaks some stuff down, points some things out. And I just want to make sure everyone gets some of these details, all these tweets. There's like 100 tweet threads going around. Basically runs through the original tweet threads for the crypto.com like spurge on Twitter, basically. But he kind of has a nice little walkthrough on it. So let's just listen to it and check it out. I'm curious to see if Sam gets anything game changer on this.
Positions. So where do we go from here? Well, things could get a lot worse, guys. Crypto.com in age on the FTX wrecked institutional investors. Crypto.com going under would wreck retail investors, setting us back years. Let's go through this. So you remember how Chris, the CEO of Crypto.com, came out and said that, hey, here is our wallets. We have about $3 billion in our wallets, and here they are. And you can also click on this link. It will take you to their actual wallet where you are able to see their exact holdings. It's right now down to $2.5 billion. People are withdrawing from Crypto.com right now. Why do they do that? Well, now that we know the Crypto.com wallets, we are also able to see their history. And it turns out that they actually sent almost all of their Ethereum to Gate.io, which is absolutely insane. Why would they send most of their Ethereum, most of their holdings to Gate.io, another exchange, much smaller? Because they say here that 100% of user cryptocurrencies are held offline in cold storage. The CEO himself came out and said it was supposed to be a move to a new cold storage address, but was sent to a whitelisted external exchange address. This is crazy.
Sam, I saw you smirk.
Yeah, okay, so I read this.
And I watched this video once, so teaser. But Sam, can you please, I'll read it one more time.
Think about this, right? So I run an exchange. And I have 300, I think it was 320 Ethereum. So whatever that comes out to be, millions of dollars of Ethereum. And I'm like, hey, don't worry, we're not stealing the money. We just fucked up. Like, does that give you any credence to like staying with crypto?
No, but like the F up itself, like, is that really an F up? Like, that's not an F up. Like, I don't even know how to send something to the wrong complete exchange. It's not an F up. Like, it was supposed to be a move to a new cold storage address, but was sent to a whitelisted external exchange address. Really interesting on that. We worked with Gate team and the funds were subsequently returned to our cold storage. New process and features were implemented to prevent this from reoccurring. Guys, let's get back into the video. Absolute blasphemy.
We worked with Gate team and the funds were subsequently returned to our cold storage and implemented to prevent reoccurring. In other words, what the CEO of crypto now saying is that they accidentally transferred almost all of their Ethereum to another smaller exchange, the customer's Ethereum. This does not look good. However, Crypto.com have done crazy things in the past. Remember when they accidentally sent a woman $10.5 million? She then went on and bought a luxury mansion with a gym and cinema. They realized 7 months later that they sent this money to her, and then they sue her. She doesn't turn up to court and loses by default. Now she has to sell the house. So Crypto.com has been very negligent previously, but this is absolutely insane. Perhaps there is another reason why they sent the funds to Gate.io, because it's confirmed. Crypto.com then sent 320,000 of it to Gate.io on October the 28th. Gate shows
audio
proof of
on
reserves
videos
and then sends 285.
What'd you say? You muted yourself.
Can you lower the quality of the video so it just keeps cutting out? Like,
Yeah, Bullish. Do you mind pulling it up, Bullish? I'm sorry.
no, you're good.
My shit's right though.
We're gonna switch this over to Bullish.
Gotcha. Just go to 8 minutes if you don't mind. 8 minutes. 8 minutes and 5 seconds. We'll just run it through once, and then Sam and I will talk about it because I just want to get all the information through one time. But I mean, as you can see, guys, it's complete blast. I mean, it's just like it's not.
Well, I think that'll be a better experience for people with the sound like this.
Yeah, no, Bullish usually. I like when Bullish pulls.
First, guys, Crypto.com are in major trouble, and I really hope that Crypto.com do not go under, because if FTX wrecked institutional investors, Crypto.com going under would wreck retail investors, setting us back years. Let's go through this. So you remember how Chris, the CEO of Crypto.com, came out and said that, hey, here is our wallets. We have about $3 billion in our wallets, and here they are. And you can also click on this link. It will take you to their actual wallet where you are able to see their exact holdings. It's right now down to $2.5 billion. People are withdrawing from Crypto.com right now. Why do they do that? Well, now that we know the Crypto.com wallets, we are also able to see their history. And it turns out that they actually sent almost all of their Ethereum to Gate.io, which is absolutely insane. Why would they send most of their Ethereum, most of their holdings to Gate.io, another exchange, much smaller exchange? Because they say here that 100% of user cryptocurrencies are held offline in cold storage. The CEO himself came out and said it was supposed to be a move to a new cold storage address, but was sent to a whitelisted external exchange address. This is crazy. We worked with Gate team and the funds were subsequently returned to our cold storage. New process and features were implemented to prevent this from reoccurring. In other words, what the CEO of Crypto.com is right now saying is that they accidentally transferred almost all of their Ethereum to another smaller exchange, the customer's Ethereum. This does not look good. However, Crypto.com have done crazy things in the past. Remember when they accidentally sent a woman $10.5 million? She then went on and bought a luxury mansion with a gym and cinema. They realized 7 months later that they sent this money to her, and then they sue her. She doesn't turn up to court and loses by default. Now she has to sell the house. So Crypto.com has been very...
That did not just... Did they just say that out loud? I don't even know. Could that...
Like that literally it would be like me.
Dude, does that happen? People
Like,
just
clearly,
without you even knowing something's in your bank account?
They lost $10.5 million. And they didn't even realize that they lost $10.5 million till 7 months later. Like, and then you want people to trust you, and then you're sending 320 Ethereum, which is millions of dollars, to a external address, and you're saying that's an accident, right? Like, I don't want to be a part of any more of these accidents because of the incompetence at an exchange. But let's get back into this video.
Negligent previously, but this is absolutely insane. Perhaps there is another reason why they sent the funds to Gate.io, because it's confirmed. Crypto.com accidentally sent 320,000 Ethereum of user deposits to Gate.io on October the 21st. On October the 28th, Gate shows proof of reserves and then sends 285,000 Ethereum back to Crypto.com. This was topping up for the proof. Gate and Crypto.com may be effed. So in other words, Crypto.com sent funds to Gate.io so that they could have that proof of reserves, and then they sent the money back. Is this what's going on between most of the exchanges right now? Are they sending the same funds so that the audits look good, but then they transfer back the funds to whoever lent them the money?
So what that's, if that's true, then they're really effed.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm saying, dude. Like, it's bad. Like, they're regurgitating funds all over the place, bro. There might be real no funds.
if that's the case, like, so at the beginning, the CEO, that dude Chris, says that they have $3 billion approximately of reserves. Then when you look at their actual reserves, it's 2.5, which either means he's really, really rounding up, or there's been $500 million of exodus, meaning people pulling their funds out in like a 2-day period of time.
What's exodus, man?
It's just like people pulling their money out, exiting.
It's like buying and leaving.
Like taking their crypto from crypto.com and leaving.
Exodus would mean complete, like no exposure to that platform at all.
And then this comes out that Gate.io is doing this and adding it to the proof of reserves and then sending it. I mean, this is some sketchy shit that definitely happens in the real world. I don't know why people wouldn't think it happens in the crypto space.
It happens more, less liquidity, more frequent, easier to do, less people understand what's going on, less people are still trying to figure out where SBF got his original funds from. Like, that's like one of the, like, the big guys are like, where did this guy get his real money from? Because they can't find it, or they can't find like a legitimate, like, full whatever. So let's keep playing this, and I'm trying to keep my spirits up right now because, like, dude, it sucks to watch everyone lose all their money, man. I know people that have a lot of this shit. I know people that have played with the credit cards that aren't even paying attention to crypto right now, probably. And, like, it just sucks, man. It sucks. And you see, it's more of the same with a lot of these guys, these founders, they're not liars, but it's just like, this is the game that can be played right now, and they're going to play it. Everyone, that's how humans do. They will play the rules if they can. Smart humans are around. So just remember, just be safe with your funds.
Why was 40,000 Ethereum not sent back? Right? 320 was sent over to Gate, right? And then 35,000 Ethereum was not sent back. Why is that the case? Right? I don't know. Very interesting. If this is like, if they're actually going through and doing this to manipulate their proof of funds or proof of reserves, this is some sketchy shit. We should get back into the video.
Yeah, let's get back.
This is becoming an absolute clown show. And I really hope that Crypto.com does not go under, because just like I said, that is where many retail people actually traded, and that would absolutely wreck sentiment. As if things weren't bad enough, guys, regulator denies asking FTX to prioritize withdrawals for Bahamian clients. Remember, a couple of days ago, we talked about how people from Bahamas could withdraw due to regulatory pressure because the regulatory authorities of Bahamas actually forced them to withdraw. Well, that was not the case. This just goes to show that people from Bahamas, the insiders, were definitely prioritized. They were getting bailouts while other people had their money stuck on FTX. As if things weren't bad already. USDT, the stablecoin.
Sam Bankman, I believe, is located in the Bahamas. Somebody can correct me, but I believe he's located with his team in the Bahamas. So why do you think, that's correct, Bush?
Yeah. That's what all the news sources are saying.
So if you have, I'm located in Florida, I'm going to lobby my government here in Florida so that I can still pull my funds out. I can pull my friends' funds out and leave you effers with all the bad stuff, right? That's some sketchy.
It's a shame, man. It's a shame because they really don't care. They really, really don't care. It sucks, man. It sucks. It sucks because, like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't suck for me necessarily, but it just sucks. Like, it doesn't feel great. Probably make the bottom happen faster. I'm kind of curious if any of this stuff can make the bottom happen super quick for crypto. Remember, crypto does work a little different at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the bottom of crypto, being that the liquidity is so different, you know, so way different spectrum. It can 95%, Sam. I mean, 95 to 99, you can pretty much rely. And I don't care what anyone says. That's not as much as people really want it to be off of a 100% pump, 100x pump. So it's, you know, a 99%. Cardano dropped 99% last cycle and it hit all-time highs this cycle. And it's still performing decent. So just understand that. Like, people will try to put you in a box with your brain, but it's important that you understand the liquidity. It's important you understand the pairs. It's important you understand what Hedron, Icosa, Maxi, all this layers, all this surface area does to Hex. And, like, you know, so it's important to remember all these things, I think. But let's keep going. USDD going to get damped. I called Tron to be the next to fall, but they didn't show their paperwork before Crow, I guess.
Is right now still on a DPEG. Now, to bring this DPEG up, remember, this is the Tron stablecoin. To bring this stablecoin up to $1 again, Tron has a lot of reserves. They have $1.5 billion in collateral. And if we do not see the peg being restored soon, they are going to have to start selling this crypto. That is $1.5 billion, 14,040 Bitcoin in the reserves here. This is absolutely insane, guys. We have been hit with a cascade of bad news just today. And as if things weren't bad enough of the bad news we've been having here for the last couple of days. As for me, guys, I am going to go ahead and close my bots here. And remember, these bots are actually trading a range much higher than this.
Bots aren't real, guys. They don't exist. No one's ever used one. Okay. So, guys, Sam, touch on that before we transition. Just give it your final hurrah. And again, we can stream later. I can get some guys on here, Sam. We could talk about this stuff. It's Sunday, so just let me know. I'm going to be around the house working today and cleaning and stuff.
So we have FTX,
Yep.
which is like the rotten apple in the bag. And when you look at your bag of apples and you have one rotten apple, well, you immediately check the apples that are really close to that, because the rotten apple tends to infect the other apples around there. Well, we have this. This is like probably very close to tied to crypto.com, right? Whether they were just friends or whatever the case is, or just you have bad players because they're centralized exchanges. But then Tron was very close to FTX in some ways. And since October 18th, so it has been almost a month, their stablecoin, a month, right? For a stablecoin to not be at its peg. And it's not just like, oh, I'm not at the stable peg, but I'm really close and I'm just like coming up to it. Like I'm just at 99, 98, 98. It's been dropping. It's been coming down further and further.
Dude, a peg of a stable coin that's off 2% is completely perma-wrecked, because it's just, if it's in any of those curve fi, anything, it's going to get arbed out in 5 seconds. And they're going to continue to do it and realize that you're flimsy and realize that there's no liquidity and realize that it's another skin tag token. We like to call them here on Crypto in the Morning. Skin tag token would be like Terra Luna, you know, like all those like that one for one, like, yeah, this is a fake part of it, but we're going to add it on. But go ahead.
So with the thing with USDD putting on top of FTX, right? On top, FTX is going to have to liquidate some of their stuff. It might try to like hold stuff right now, but there's going to be movement. And then you look at USDD, right? USDD is an over collateralized stablecoin, and part of the collateral needs to be sold to buy the coin to drive the price up. So they have a boatload of BTC and they have other assets in there. So that
means the other assets aren't worth, frankly, anything compared.
But that could be what helps drive that price down, which then again, if you have things like crypto.com that have any leverage, if you have prices drop further while you're having an exodus of funds, people are pulling their funds out of crypto.com. Clearly, we just saw the numbers, 3 billion to 2.5 billion in the course of 2 days, right? Either the CEO was lying or there's been a $500 million like exodus of customer funds in 2 days, right? Like you're muted. This is, and then if we have selling with USDD to stabilize the USDD stablecoin, I mean, we could see.
I think it's already collapsed, frankly. And it sucks because I know people that use crypto.com. I don't think really anyone used FTX. I think that was a 100% propped up Ponzi. Yes, of course there were buys and sells, but like I really think the volume was by and large 100% fake. But what did they do? They move these funds into these other liquidity pools, and then they pull it all out, and then it's just like, oh God. Hey guys, we're gonna pull this tweet up. Sam, will you read this for me real quick, if you can, if you don't mind? And then we're gonna transition to Cryptographics, who's in the green room right now, guys. Biceps in the chat for Cryptographics. Tweet it out. Let them know. Graphics in the house. No jokes here, guys. Sam, if you can read this, I know it's small, but if you can.
Yes. So this is from Alex, the founder of Hedron, the founder of Icosa. This is unfortunate news, but I have been made aware of a mathematical error in the Icosa contract. Before you read further, be aware that this is not a security issue. Your coins are safe, your stakes are safe, your NFTs are safe. Everything will progress and move forward as expected, auctions and all. The error is in the yield bonus calculation for Icosa and Hedron stakers. A change was made to the Icosa contract before launch to handle the possibility of massive whales attempting to break yield for smaller stakers. The change increased the decimal resolution of the staking pools from 100 to the 18th decimal places to the right? In turn, this has caused the yield bonus calculation to never actually pay out the bonus. The normal yield is paid out. Simply, not the bonus. The amount of accumulated yield the app tells you is still accurate. This bonus will never included in that metric, was never included in this metric. The question is, what does this mean for stakers? The yield bonus metric was removed from the app. It appears someone burnt a rather large amount of Hedron today. This will boost yield for all stakers by roughly 25%. Perhaps this will be seen by some as mitigation. That was him maybe. The boost applies to all stakes, Hedron, Icosa, and WhatsApp. Moving forward, bigger, longer stakes still perform better due to the share rate mechanism. Auctions will still happen, but the burnt Hedron will still mean increased yield. HSIs sold with bonuses still get bonuses, and those bonuses copied to WhatsApp. The system will continue to move forward as intended. There are no plans to fork Icosa at this time. However, that is not to say it will never happen. I have no expectations, nor should anyone else. Now, let's bring on...
Nice. What's up, boys?
What's up? Great to see you, dude. How you
Good to
been?
see you guys too. I'm good, man. I mean, as good as you can be for watching everything kind of crumble around you right now.
So can you talk about that tweet?
Yeah.
And like what the implications are, because I'm reading through it and I'm not super deep into it. I understand Icosa, but I'm not like, and I know you're deeper into that. So what are the implications for users?
Yeah. So the implications, first off, are, I mean, two transactions that happened yesterday. One of them was mentioned in the tweet, or I think he implied SA basically burnt some Hedron, but there's actually two transactions, two big things that happened. The first one was a transaction by the SA done to just burn in one shot, 250 billion Hedron, which seeded the pool essentially an extra around 10,000 Icosa per day, which is around a 25% increase as the baseline yield over the next 360 days. It'll actually be 270 days as the original Icosa was seeded at the beginning, and we're at basically day 90. So basically there's a 90-day offset on either side. But for 270 days, there's going to be basically a 25% increase yield on what we've seen as the baseline in Icosa. And in addition to that as well, the the 250 billion burned was just sent to the pool. I'm thinking of the 750 billion. We'll get to that in a second. So the 250 billion, sorry guys, was burnt and sent to the pool, and it's about it added some crazy, I think it was almost 6%, about 4 or 5% of whatever your principal was in a single day in yield, roughly, which is a pretty significant increase from around the decimal, like basically less than 1% yield on a daily basis. I think a number of weeks ago when I was still kind of looking at everything and calculating what the payouts were, they were around 0.37, 0.38. So that's a pretty substantial jump in yield in a single day.
Especially for big boys.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Basically getting paid out. So what this kind of acts as is like a payout in a way for what those bonuses could have brought you. Now, the interesting thing is there's the short-term and long-term ramifications here. But before we go there, I also want to bring up the other burn, which was the 750 billion burn. So you got the 250 paid one out, and then the 750 billion was burned. So a total of $1 trillion was burned to increase yesterday's payout and the next 270 or next 360 days of yield for Icosa and Hedron stakers. Now, I'm still playing in my head with all the ramifications. There's interesting things I've been thinking about, and I'm seeing like in different Telegram groups, we're all talking about trying to figure out, what's about to change, because for the first year, this is going to affect everyone positively to a degree. But after that, because there's no bonus. So there's a lot of the incentives to have a bigger stake.
Sorry, can you talk about what the bonus is that's going to be missing from Alex's tweet there?
Yes, 100%. So the bonuses are all to do with the stakes in the Hedron or Icosa pools. So now the pool has minimum days instead of a preset number of days that you can choose, like the Hex contract. Essentially, when you stake your principal, if your principal is a certain percentage of the total supply, you will get a minimum day. There's like 5 tiers. There's 30 days, 90 days, 180, 270, and 360. And essentially, the biggest one is like the whale category. So it's like 1% of the total. If you have that stake as your principal, you're going to be having a 360-day stake. 0.1% is 270. 0.01 is 180. 0.001 is 90. And anything below that is a 30-day stake. And all these top 4 tiers so the 360, 270, 180, and 90-day stakes, they all had bonuses. And it went in descent order from obviously the highest number of minimum days, from 20 to 15 to 10 to 5% of a yield bonus when you completed that stake. Now, there was caveats to that too. It's not like if you put in an amount that gave you in the beginning, 20% yield or 20% yield bonus, there was no guarantee you were ever going to get that, because the way the yield bonus works in the first place is based off of the Icosa total supply. And the Icosa total supply works like Hex. If you're familiar with Hex, Hex burns coins or the tokens out of existence when you stake them, right? And you remint them back into circulating supply once you have ended your stake. Icosa works the same way. But because right now there's like 18.3 million Icosa in the staking pool and around 460,000 Icosa, that means to get 1%.
Hey, graphics.
Yep.
You're just like, you're 85% good, 15% lagging. And I just wanted to tell you, because you have really good points, obviously.
Let me, I'll change my camera, because is it the audio or the video or what? It's the video, isn't it?
It's a little bit of both, and I'm not sure whose fault it is, but I know your points are really good. If you just probably change something, whatever you need to do, it's really close, but it keeps skipping out.
Very close. And I'm like, I don't want to say anything because I'm like, oh, he's got.
Yeah, I was on the teaser about it too. You know me, but
no, that's all good. I'll switch to this. Is this better?
It feels like it.
Yeah. So just give me 1 second to talk to the chat. Hold your idea right there. Graphics, you're going and you're doing great, and I'm loving it.
This is awesome.
But I want to slow it down for just 1/2 second. Keep your idea. So we actually mentioned that yesterday. The Icosa pool, when you go into it, so the Hedron and the Icosa pool are right next to each other, right on the front end. If you go into the Hedron pool, your coins are not. They're still in the circulating supply pool. Now, people don't understand a lot about Icosa, and it gets where the complication comes in, because Icosa, if you look at the market cap, you'll never see anything as low as it. Why? Because there's nothing on the market, really. There's really nothing on the market yet, but it makes it so the downside pressure isn't that strong, because really there's a lot staked, and really there's no liquidity anyway. We're hoping that guys come in with those big end stakes and provide liquidity there, at least in a healthy manner. But in general, I think the real hard part for people here is that relationship between the circulating supply on the market with Icosa and like the market cap and the liquidity there. Because it kind of is, it's new. It's very new. It's very young. It's very, and I just wanted to preface that before we kept going into the details here. These pools are very new,
Yep.
very new.
So the bonus that people are missing out is, hypothetically, right? The bonus was, I had some that were 5%, right? So the 5% was going to be in the form of Icosa. So that is just no longer anymore, right? But to try to like compensate for this like mess up, I go through and I burn a bunch of Hedron, and then I send a bunch to the contract to be sent out, dispersed throughout like the next 270 days to kind of like help compensate for this. Is that kind of the gist of where you were before the audio stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's basically a little bit of a compensation. It seems as though timely enough that it the only possible way you could what's the word I'm looking for here? The only thing that makes sense is that, obviously I think that's what happened there. So, but yeah, being that the SA's done that, now we're going over the staking pool bonuses and everything. So you have obviously the 5 tiers, the top 4 tiers all get bonuses, and we were talking about the circulating supply because this is a big thing to understand between the Hedron pool, like you were saying, GRC, and the Icosa pool. The Hedron pool, if you stake in the Hedron pool, it's just calculating total supply, including what's staked, because the staking pool doesn't burn the Hedron that goes in the pool, whereas the Icosa does. So Icosa's current supply, like I was saying, is around 460,000, whereas the actual total supply, well, the amount staked is about 18.3 million, and counting. So there's about 18.8 million total in the supply, but only 460,000 is actually circulating. So why this is important to understand is that to be in the whale category, you need to only have 4,600 Icosa to have 1% of the total supply at that moment, according to what's circulating, right? Because it's only calculating that minimum stake days based on what is actually in circulation and not staked, right? So here's the dilemma, right? People who staked 4,600 Icosa today, or anywhere between then and a few weeks ago when it was about 6,500, they would have had potentially a 20% bonus and a 360-day minimum. And basically 650 Icosa would have got you 270 days. 65 Icosa at that point would have gotten you 180, 90 days, I believe it would have been. And a 30-day stake would have been 6.5 Icosa, which is like tiny amounts. So if we're looking at this in terms of, what this actually changes, we have to really look at what might have happened in the long run anyway. So 6,500 Icosa is a tiny amount in comparison to 18.8 million. It's 0.0 something percent. It's quite small, but yet that was in the whale tier as a 20% bonus. So when it comes to these bonuses, it's likely that a lot of the people, many players that were showing that they would have these bonuses would never actually qualify for them in the bigger bonuses, at least anyways, because in the short term here, a lot of the bigger players couldn't have end staked. And so the supply would still be small. But as these bigger stakes end and a lot of liquidity comes out, or a lot of the liquid Icosa comes out, many of these stakers wouldn't have actually received the bonus, because as soon as the first person comes out, it increases the total supply, which anyone below the new threshold would no longer qualify for that bonus, and they'd be knocked down a tier. So and this would cascade into the future as more people end staked, and as the supply that's circulating continues to inflate because more and more people are end staking at the 180 and 270-day mark, less and less people are going to get that bonus and be knocked into the next tier, and then next year, and eventually maybe none. And by the time we got to the 360-day stake, then it's very unlikely after that, depending, obviously, the big caveat here is staking behavior. If a lot of Icosa, like we're currently seeing, is always staked, then these bonuses could have been a big thing. The problem, though, is a lot of these pools need liquidity. And like you were talking about, GRC and Sam, the liquidity is very young. And the biggest pool we have right now on Deck Screener is the Hex Icosa pool at 127,000 liquidity on both sides. So we have like almost $300,000 in liquidity across 3 or 4 pools. So
I think that's the only thing stopping it from having epic downside.
really,
Yes.
the low liquidity is a big prevention. I mean, the slippage that you
I
get
think
from
it's
trying to dump a
all
lot is
prevention.
huge.
I think there's dudes with huge money that could have nuked that price with the bonus that they just got yesterday. The wealth distribution in Hedron is very much one on both sides. There's not too much middle ground there. There's not too many guys that are like right in the middle of the mix. Where
There's
with
a smaller
Hex, we
amount for
see,
sure.
with which Hex we see there's some 150 of those guys that are active daily, and they're one girlfriend breakup away from dumping all their bags, or like an RH unfollow or whatever. So there's just a more mature market. There's more people making decisions with more money in the middle ground. That's why I'm hoping that they're playing that liquidity a little bit. This is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that they're playing that because they know that people aren't going to lose all their funds and just nuke it, but they can also get a steady yield where they feel like they're getting something. But then I hope after those big stakes come in, those guys immediately come in and move that liquidity to a safe range and start providing safe liquidity there for people. And I think I would assume they would do that.
I think they would too. I mean, Icosa Hex liquidity pair is a pretty lucrative pair if you know how to play the game properly, because it's pretty predictable as to what the price is going to do. And even if it drops out of the zone and you're still on the trajectory for like maybe a few weeks ahead, based on like hexfire.io, there's a good chance that it's going to recover. And if you're like suffering impermanent loss at the moment, it's going to come back up to some point, most likely to at least part of your range, more than likely, right? Because what we've even seen on the Hex Icosa pair is, even early on, someone dumped, I think it was 33,000 Icosa early on, and it dumped the price about 40%. And over the course of 2 or 3 days, it climbed right back up. So it is interesting
that's
to
pocket change to some of the bigger guys in there from their other accounts just to provide $40,000 in liquidity there. That's not really hitting anyone hard. We see people sending 25 ETH for a donation on stuff that I don't even, no one even knows about. People in this community do have funds, like they really do, especially ETH, some of these other funds, and providing $30,000 to $40,000 in liquidity is super reasonable compared to, 3 million, 5 million, hoping to God that there's not a bunch of angry maxis that want out.
Mm-hmm.
This could also be a very interesting. What you're describing with the total circulating supply is 400,000, but the total supply that has been staked is 18 plus million, right? So, but that's just not going to show up, right? So when you're calculating the whale percentage, you're doing it off the 400 grand or 400,000 of the supply there. But if over, say, the next 12 to 18 months, if the ratio stays about the same between total supply and how much has been in the staked pools, if that stays about constant, then that would be bullish how I would see this from an Icosa standpoint, because there's always going to be so much more staked, like by like multitudes way higher. And if there's barely any liquidity on it, then the tiniest little buys are going to drive the price up, right? So yes, somebody can pull this shit out and dump it, but then it allows that to stick up towards that top end of the range easier.
It's safety, because there's just no USD valuation. You can't lose too much, but you can protect it forever. Oh, in a sense, like if there's only, they know how many people have certain, they can tell a lot, not everything, but a lot about what people are doing. And a lot of people forget about these things. A lot of people don't mint their Hedron. A lot of people don't do a lot of these things. There's a lot of positive externalities within Hedron. I know a lot of people don't like the burn mechanic, kind of like leveraging, but I mean, this is crypto, guys. As we can see, no one's figured this shit out properly yet. And, we're trying our best. Now, I was going to ask this question before we continued. I have no idea the answer to it, but I've heard people in my DMs asking, like, why wasn't Icosa have an audit? And I was like, I don't know. I was just like, I like Alex. I just kind of trust him. But does anyone have any kind of insight on that? Maybe Bullish will. I don't know much about audits, and I hear that they're kind of flimsy, but they're important too.
I learned about it yesterday, so maybe Cryptographics has more insight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Basically, the Tron was audited. originally, right? And it went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And the auditors basically and I'm going to repeat what I've heard from Alex as well. So I might be missing some nuance here. So I'll give you the cliff notes on what I've understood, though, is basically the auditors were missing things in the Hedron contract, and the community was doing a better job at auditing as far as because they understood what the code was trying to do than the auditors originally. And so the auditors were kind of a struggle to deal with. So for the Icosa contract, it was heavily audited by the community, and it was heavily tested to get everything under wraps because of what happened with the Hedron audit. And so Icosa wasn't actually audited. It was audited by the community instead of like a CerTic or like a PEC Shield or something like that. So it was a different process, and yeah, it was a community audit essentially.
Sam, can you comment on this? Because I don't really have much to comment on that. And you might not really, frankly, either, because it's DeFi, like auditing is a little like, you know.
Well, I mean, it's like I can hire an accounting firm to, check a box to say that my books are good, but that doesn't mean my books are necessarily good. But that's kind of
But if you pay them 10 grand and they did it to someone else who has a project that works, it's cool.
And like, it's kind of like what happened with Moody's and like the SP 500 for mortgage-backed securities. It's like I'm paying them hundreds of thousands of dollars to rate my shit, and then you're also selling me consulting business. Like, do you want to rate my shit lower, or do you want to rate it higher? Because then I'll do more business with you and give you more money. Like, not necessarily the same here, but it's very similar. That now, I wanted to actually ask Cryptographics what you think personally, right? Like, what do you personally think? I appreciate you taking the time to outline the details of how this is all structured and what's taken place. How do you think about this moving forward, right? From a return standpoint, from a demand standpoint, we have, talk of crypto.com shitting the bed. We have FTX bankruptcies and insolvencies. The FTX thing is going to lead to more stuff. We have Tron's stablecoin USDD that hasn't been on peg since the middle of October. And we have like all this stuff happening. And then Icosa, hey, I fucked up. This is like the issue here. What are your thoughts? Like when you look at the bigger picture, but then also like how are you changing maybe strategies and how you go and approach this?
In terms of just Icosa, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of processing to do. I have to do some math and modeling to figure out, because there's no bonus now, what is the benefit of staking longer versus shorter? Because obviously the staking points are still a big piece to the puzzle. Like the T-share rate going up causes you to get less and less position in the pool if you continuously stake the same amount of Icosa, just like Hex, right? You stake the same amount of Hex over and over and over, you get less and less amount of the pool for the same length stake the whole 9 yards. So I'm still trying to figure out what that means long term. It seems like initially here, I'm hearing a lot of thoughts that maybe some shorter stakes make more sense, but that depends on how much the total supply is, because if the total supply is 460,000, you want to do 30-day stakes or 90-day stakes, you need to put in like 46 Icosa. I'm not gonna put like however many wallets I need to do, or whoever, like that's ridiculous to me.
46.
What about on the Hedron? What about on the Hedron pool?
In the Hedron pool,
do short stakes on the Hedron pool, but Icosa to me is just like, I'm hoping they provide liquidity for it in the future. So I got like a bunch in that pool, but I don't put any of my Hedron in the pool. But if I had a lot of money, I might, but probably I wouldn't. Right.
Well, the Hedron pool, like they kind of have an inverse relationship. So every dollar above the $5 mark, or the whatever it is now, like $5 USD mark, basically there's an inverse relationship where that you get for every dollar you spend, you get 4 times the pool share, but you have to wait 4 times as long essentially. And it's inverted on the Hedron pool. So for every dollar you spend in Hedron, you have 4 times less buying power, but you have to wait 4 times less. So you can basically put you can basically put in like almost over 30 grand into Hedron and get a 90-day stake. That's it. And CryptoSloth is a good point. You're like the biggest impact is for the Watsa yield, because a lot of these big bonuses that we're going to come up for the stakes, we're going to go specifically to the Watsa pool, and that it is a big bummer, in a sense. The 20% yield, 15% yield, 10% yield, 5% yield accumulatively on all stakes that qualified for that bonus for the life of, the What's a Pool. So that is a bit of a tough break. And so basically to summarize strategy here, I'm going to carry on business as usual, thinking that the longer stakes, for at least myself, seem like it still makes the most sense, but I could be wrong because a lot's changed and there's a lot to wrap our heads around here. Like, I don't know what the full strategy is yet. I don't know. And this is going to be a few days or a week before it's fully unraveled as to what's all going on here.
What about your thoughts on Icosa versus the Hedron pool and how the yield could be impacted from, the 250 billion burnt versus the 750 to increase yield?
Well, you're going to get, for dollars spent, you're going to get four times less yield in the Hedron pool for every dollar you put in versus Icosa, right? So you could use the Hedron pool is more of able to stake bigger money for shorter periods of time at the moment and be able to still get a decent amount of yield versus the Icosa, you put in a quarter of the amount and you have to serve 4 or 5 times as long, depending on how much money you're putting in. So the Hedron pool is still valid. And it's actually great because one of the things that I noticed yesterday watching these HSI auctions start is all the auctions that could have been possibly started did not start initially, meaning we're kind of get this nice, long, dragged out effect of all these auctions. And sorry, where was it? I lost my train of thought. One sec here. Wow. Hold on.
You're good.
Okay.
All right, you get your thought back. I'm gonna comment on the chat for 1 second.
Yep.
Comment on the chat, guys. If you're in the chat, please smash the like. I was thinking of something while everyone was talking, and it was, I'm worried about one thing. I'm only gonna say it once. I don't want to cause anyone to freak out about nothing. It doesn't, not like that. But Sam, these are real US dollars, right, that are spreading across these liquidity pools. Now we have Maxi, Poly, Deci, Water, all the stuff, all the things that I don't even have most of them, to be honest, because I frankly can't keep up with that many price charts, and I don't want to. So the liquidity, like, just because you're playing games with the units and like the variables of the numbers as far as units and distribution methods doesn't necessarily mean that there's a lot more US dollar flowing into the system. And I think you can see that with a lot of these more like nuanced pairs, like not keeping up their side of the deal. Like, I know Maxi did well, but it was kind of the first one to the punch there. And then Hedron definitely did well with a lot of support from a lot of big people as far as the liquidity was concerned. And I think that Icosa Hedron system, but I think there's a lot of extra, and I think it's diluting a lot. And I think even Richard Hart alluded to this when he was talking to us about me yesterday in the street, in the thing. He kind of mentioned, like, my primary goal is that there's liquidity in the tokens that I've come out with, not anyone else. I don't care where they're building or what they're building on, whether it's Pulse Chain, this, that, and the other. So again, maybe he has a point to a degree. Maybe we are, and I'm not saying this is true. And maybe it's better for the little guy. Maybe it's better for the long term. Maybe it's not better for the long term. But Sam, I know there's only so many US dollars in a bear market. Just because something comes out and there's more units around doesn't necessarily mean all this money. And it doesn't mean it's not coming in either. I think that's fair to say. So that was my piece on that while everyone kind of gathered. Hit the like, hit the sub. Love you guys. Let's get it.
It's definitely dispersed from like a year ago, right? Where you have, I don't know, 7, 10 tokens or something like that are all kind of slightly related or derivative of in some way, shape, or form. And that's going to continue there. It's going to continue with that. I think it's important to note that Watsons will still get the 10% Icosa buyback bonuses. Thank you for pointing that out, Gifford. Good to see you in the chat, bro. Cryptographics, you were just talking about the auctions and how there's a bunch of them that came up that I didn't watch, so I'm just taking this from you. If I say something wrong, correct me, please. Where not all of them actually got bids on these, which means that, so this is one of the thoughts that I had in the back of my mind, that the complexity and what GRC was saying, the complexity as well as the depth of liquidity and USD, but also just in terms of like the people involved right? There's not enough people involved to soak up the sales for these, and these could potentially actually have a backlog that builds over time, depending on how quickly things are getting sold through from the HSI standpoint to Icosa. Can you talk about what your thoughts are related to this? Like, maybe it's beneficial. I don't know. I'm just like thinking out loud here.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing to think of is, okay, those backlogs I think would only happen if everyone was staked and Hedron was like at its ceiling price and in relationship to Hex, meaning it didn't make sense for the most part to bid on any of these auctions because financially you're spending more on one bid than the base stake is worth. So if you don't get it for the minimum bid, you're essentially out a little bit of money, especially if you're considering recycling those stakes. But where I was going with this, so thank you for the reminder, is as these auctions get stretched out, because like you're saying, there doesn't seem like there's enough people to get their hands on all of these auctions right away and bid on all of them per day. I think this is actually a positive thing because for the Hedron stakers, because you now have, unless you have like $30,000 plus in Hedron, and even if you do, you still have far less than what you have in Icosa as far as minimum stake days. So now, because these auctions are stretched out, you're now going to have access to deals potentially on these HSIs, and from just a ROI standpoint, a lot of these bids, like especially for some shorter stakes, the ROI on the minimum bid, that if you get to purchase a minimum bid for a short stake in Hex versus the base value, is insane. And so, there's a lot of these deals that if people can get their Hedron out, like you have a 30-day stake or a 90-day stake and you're waiting on that minimum, you're just sitting there allowing it to accumulate Icosa till you see an auction you like, you have flexibility in the Hedron pool to then use your Hedron to get a sweet, sweet deal on an HSI. And then if it's a 555, maybe you get some more Icosa, or if it's a shorter stake that you want to get a good deal on, you use that. And the Hedron pool gives you flexibility in these auctions. And because of that flexibility and the auctions are going to get stretched out, it seems like, you're going to have time to make good decisions and actually capitalize on some of these auctions that if we had a ton of people in right now, people may not get a chance to. The patient here or the people that have to wait might actually benefit from this.
That's a very interesting thought. I think that, like, as I see, if the backlog builds, right, because it could just be backlog for 1 or 2 days and then come down, like it could continue to build, like we don't know how it's going to play out. But if hypothetically it did continue to build, meaning we have more HSI sold to Icosa, we don't have a great amount of participation in the auctions, so that the backlog continues to grow. There are HSIs in the backlog that are worthless effectively, like it costs you $16 to purchase something that's worth $4. Like those will just sit there forever until somebody makes a mistake.
I would be surprised if like the SA burns those, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen the SA start bids. I think it was a Hedron deployer or the SA has started a bid or two in the past just to get it going and to just get rid of some small stakes.
Okay, because that would be interesting. But as I'm thinking about this, I'm like, okay, if that's the case, potentially we could see kind of like a catalog of a variety of different stakes that are up for auction that will just sit there, like on an Amazon page. You're like, what do you want to buy, bro? Let me scroll around, right? And this would give somebody who has a large amount of capital, assuming, like I'm playing this out in my mind, a large amount of capital, they could go in there potentially and pick from a catalog of a bunch of different types of stakes to just go in there without affecting the price. Because if you go and you buy the same amount of Hex, right, you need to do something OTC or DCA over a certain period of time, or try to use like a liquidity pool to enter and then paying attention to be able to exit, right? But this allows you to just get straight in. Hey, I want 167 T shares. They can just go in there, pick that off the shelf, and get into there. And potentially by doing it this way, they get a discount, right? They're able to actually buy this at a discount. And that, if I'm thinking about this, like, could be 100% wrong, right? But if I'm thinking about this, then theoretically, I would guess that if you looked at liquidity pools between, say, Hedron and Hex, I didn't think about Icosa, but for Hedron and Hex, I would think that if this is the doorway for like people who have larger amounts of capital to get in, potentially this means that Hedron liquidity could increase at a faster rate than Hex. That could be wrong. I have no idea.
100%. The Hedron's liquidity has 100x what Hex's has done since it's launched, as far as like adding to it. But like it's again, Hex has no liquidity. I mean, Hex isn't known for its fat liquidity. That's for darn sure. But I have one statement. You mentioned liquidity providing, Sam, and I think the play here for, I don't know if I should say that. But I think the an idea about the Icosa liquidity pool is the Icosa liquidity pool is small, right? I think the Icosa liquidity pool in the future is going to be much larger. I don't think the Icosa price is going to rise much if there's a floor ceiling kind of situation. That means there's money regurgitating within that pool. That means the play is the LP on that. The play, the US dollar is going to come out of the transaction volume on that. So I think that's important to understand, because its difference is you're not really losing to that price. You can kind of pay attention to that price a little more accurately on Icosa with that hyperbolic like trading volume.
Yeah,
I guess it depends.
Go ahead.
I guess it depends, on how people are, because if you're providing liquidity, I mean, yeah, you want to make fees, but if your fees are getting in the way of your price appreciation of your token, because your liquidity providing is preventing your token from going up in value at all, and you're earning fees that are maybe like a few percent versus what you could get if the token were to go up, maybe it doesn't make as much actual financial sense to provide liquidity in that sense. And so maybe liquidity for Icosa and Hex has a limit. Maybe it has a ceiling where people see there is a value in no more value than a certain amount of millions of dollars of liquidity, so that the price is easier to maintain its ceiling relative to Hex. And I don't know for sure, but just preliminarily, it does kind of make sense that the people will be thinking of things like that, at least in my head.
Have you provided liquidity personally?
I haven't actually, no.
So I don't like pretend to say that I'm an expert, but I like liquidity and I do it on a regular basis. But with liquidity, I mean, like in whether it's like the pairs that we've been talking about, or like Maxi and any of those pairs, like, I mean, you can earn over 20% a month. So like, It's like, okay, stake something for 40% a year, right? Or earn something 20% a month. And I'm testing something right now from an impermanent loss standpoint. You're like, what is impermanent loss? Well, you have a fewer coin count, right? That goes up in value over time effectively, right? Because you decided to use this pool of money to split into two pools of money. You earn fees as these connect, right? Well, I have been just pulling fees and putting them into a separate account, right? So track it from the beginning. And now I'm like, okay, can I build a higher coin count so that I can eliminate impermanent loss? And within about a month, I think it's slightly less than a month, I've got about 20% of the tokens. So that would mean in 5 months, I have all the tokens and permanent loss is like not a thing anymore. Or another way to think about it is the pendulum or a scale of impermanent loss. Like one is you're effectively happens in a very quick period of time, and you're just left with the other token. That token didn't do anything, but the other one had like 100x, right? But that's on like the extreme of one side, and the other side it says it takes 6 years, and you've been earning fees this whole entire time. You've been taking those fees and putting them into something else, and you've actually been able to have a greater coin count over that duration of this playing out. And I think that a lot more people are going to start understanding this. That like
I don't know if it's necessarily good for a lot of these projects that everyone understands this. It's good and bad.
It's put my returns down by telling people this stuff.
Yeah, it's not necessarily because what Graphic says is kind of correct. Like these pools do get plumped because guys like me will just sit in them and wait because a lot of this information is public. You just earn ETH all day long. While I mean, I like ETH. I think ETH is stable. Like if all my Hedron turned into ETH right now, I wouldn't lose an ounce of sleep. I would not be I would probably be speculatively happier with not that being the case. But at the same time, it's like there's safety profiles on both assets that, differ anyway. So you think you can be right about everything, and then you can lose to impermanent loss and be the most right person in the room. And it happens all the time. But you just earn fees the whole time. So it's like as long as you do it between two assets that you like, that's the key. Like if you're doing it between PLSD and that's not something you like, and Hex, like, and you lose all to PLSD, you're probably gonna be pissed. But if you're doing it between Hex and Hedron and you like both and you're not super worried about the different, like super worried, you're just cranking fees all day. And we all know about the fees in Ethereum. And I think one of the biggest problems, I think one of the reasons that Hedron is so necessary, if Hex is to work out long time, and I'm talking about Hedron and Icosa right now, I ain't talking about nothing else. Okay. I think it's critical because I think the gas fee structure on Hex is not adequate for long-term scaling, like super long-term like scaling. So I think like Hedron is critical to get some people out of that staking structure, because if you understand like the gas fee structure, you understand like ending 15-year end stakes could potentially cost you 40 grand in the future, and you ain't calling that, buddy. Vitalik's calling that, and nobody, he even said win sharding and did a meme. So, and you know, so again, people want to talk all purdy, people want to talk all technical, tell me how stupid I am. I pay attention to the details, guys, and I ain't super worried about, I'm not the feelings champion. Like, I have feelings, but like at the end of the day, some of these things, we want this to work, right? So we have to talk about it. And if it can't be talked about it, I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, and it's a very fair concern. You know, the issue that we could see in the future with like these end stakes. I think something to consider too is we don't know what kind of layer 2 scaling solutions we're going to get if we can like wrap multiple stakes together in an end stake to, you know, consolidate fees. If we can take a lot of the computational data off chain first, like compress it, bring it back, reduce fees immense. We don't know how much compression we're going to get on that data when stuff comes back over. So I mean, we, you know, right now, based on the tech we have and what we know is available to us, we can project what the future is going to look like. But every year that ticks by, things are going to change. And right now, that's the trajectory. You know, that's the trajectory that we have right now. But I'm in the firm belief that every year that goes by, we're going to have a little bit more of a solution to that problem. You know, and I don't know how big of an impact it's going to make, but I do think that that will change over time. And the way we look at the end stakes of these massive, these 15-year stakes aren't going to be what we're talking about now, I don't think. Nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Great point. I was just playing devil's advocate too, by the way. I have Hex stakes and stuff. So like, please God, you know, let's work. I hope this works out for me too. Like, people understand, like I like playing devil's advocate. It's fun for conversation, but I have 10x Hedron stakes. I have Hex stakes. I have an Icosa stake. I have liquid Hedron. Please, God Almighty, please allow this to work. Like, please, like, you think I want this to fail by highlighting some of the? No, I'm trying to
not at all.
Durability. Yeah. I'm trying to test the durability of the concept so I can know if I should continue to put money in here. Because if it's going to be weak, flimsy leadership, you know, I'll keep the bags I have and I'll dump it when it does 100x. But I ain't participating in this educational like thing if it's not going to be. I want to know what's going on. Okay. And I'm going to ask. And if no one answers, I'm going to leave. And I'm going to do something else or talk about something else somewhere where there's some, you know, I just want to know what's going on. I'm not the most technical guy in the world, but I just realized getting answers out of people in this community is nearly impossible. You know, it's just, which team are you on? Immediately I get put on a team for even thinking that another man has a good idea. They're like, you're on that team. I'm like, do my T-shares still work? They're like, F you. I'm like, okay. Like, what happened? Like, why? Like, what? And if there's no synergy, I have a feeling long-term scaling is tough. And if that's what we actually want, and I have a feeling maybe that's not what we actually want. Maybe that's what FTX tried to do. And, you know, I don't know, guys, but I'm still.
Well, I think you're going a little bit down a rabbit hole now.
My bad, bro. But I just want everyone to understand, like, transparency is important. Learning about this stuff is important. And getting into the details is important.
It is 100% important. I agree. Cryptographics. Last thoughts here on the mistake rate with Icosa contract and Alex, and at a time when people's like trust is fragile with everything else going on. How do you think, like, you know what I mean? People's trust is being ripped away here throughout the rest of the market, and then you're like, oh, this community, right? That doesn't seem to happen, and then it's like, fuck yeah, right? In a sense, it's not like anything extreme. It's like I literally wasn't even thinking about. I thought the 5% was already in the number because it's how naive it was about it. Like I wasn't paying close attention to it. So for me, it's like doesn't really matter. If my money's safe and I'm going to continue to earn some type of yield in there, cool, it's perfectly fine. But how do you think that affects people moving forward to just be like, I mean, we see that like the premium on Maxi's dropped. We see that like Deci doesn't have a premium. And is this kind of like scaring people away from these things? Or how do you see this like
Polyhedron 11% premium as well.
I think that is people are going to be spooked by it. I don't think it's inevitable. Like, especially to, you know, if people are invested in either, you know, Richard Hart's words or Richard Hart heavily and his advice, you know, or they're invested heavily in other centralized entities that have gone down, you know, they have some reason to basically hear something like this and be like, you know, and hear it and react to it. Or it might just be someone's response to it. It might not be a reaction, but I think there are going to be a lot of reactions to this, just hearing it as a thing that's happened that sounds bad on the surface. I think it's inevitable. And I think there are going to be some people that respond to this and view this as something that they weren't expecting and something that wasn't in the original, you know, the code for what they signed up for when they got into this. And so they're probably not going to be in it as well. But I think that's inevitable. You know, I think that there's going to be three sides to the story. People that are going to look at it and be like, whatever, you know, Alex is still Alex. The code still is good. It had one change to it. Doesn't change the security or anything like that of the coin. Then you're gonna have the other two tiers. And I don't know what percentage is going to be of all the three of those tiers really, but I think there are going to be some people that are reacting negatively to this. I think it's inevitable, you know, and it could be a larger amount of people too, to be honest.
Could be a larger opportunity for new investors. Whoops.
Because the yield's even higher now, 25% higher for.
Well, I'm talking about on the market, Sam. You know what that fear does to people. Fear, that's the big one. People leave forever and they never come back. They don't want to hear it because their brain's like, oh, if it goes up, it'll hurt me. So they just dip. It's cool. Like, it's not a big deal. It's investing. Like, people do that. I do that on some stuff. I'm like, I don't want to look at that no more. I already sold it. Oh, geez, please, God, don't go up.
Nature of the beast.
So, but anyway, closing thoughts. You know, this is important to have open dialogue, guys. We're not going to change the whole entire dynamic of cryptocurrency with this conversation. It's about moving forward and allowing the people that actually do want to have constructive conversations about this stuff to do that. Like, I will facilitate that if no one else will.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do need these kind of conversations. You need those kind of conversations in the community. I think getting crucified for having an opinion is, you know, not a good trait of, in general, to have for a community. I think, you know, if you're understood first, you know, if people ask questions, you have an opinion, people ask questions, and it comes to the fact that your opinion or your ideas were wrong, well, then everyone learns together, you know, and then it's clear as day that you got it wrong, the information's wrong, everyone's all on the same page, we now move forward. But instead, you know, these reactionary responses that are super common that we're seeing for having an opinion, no matter what it is, it just creates more division, separation, and it creates resentment, you know, and it's a problem because we're all fighting the same battle at the end of the day, regardless of what token you're talking about. We're fighting the same battle.
I hope.
I believe it anyways, because you know what? We're fighting the same battle, but we all don't view how we fight that battle the same. You know, some of us view a lot of us view delayed gratification. Some of us view delayed gratification plus like maybe some short-term stuff. Some people will like maybe go for some risky, like liquidity, everything, you know, and it's all okay because everyone's trying to find the right way. And you know, there is validity to listening to people who have immense experience and immense time in the markets and know how to do these things, but still keeping an open mind as to what works for you. You know, you have to come at it and figure out what works best for you in your life at the end of the day. And you're going to probably make some mistakes, and that's going to just make you and solidify what you have to do in the future. You know, that's the best way to learn, unfortunately, is to make mistakes. You'll never forget that moment when you make a mistake. I know for a fact, and I'm sure all of us do, and probably everyone in the chat, you make a mistake, you make a public mistake too, you know, and you'll never make that mistake again.
Right. And, you know, I like using mistakes as leverage, you know, for energy. I use mistakes as more kinetic energy for future moves. I love mistakes. My bounce backs are incredible. My bounce backs after big F ups are just pace, time. I shine the most when I have been under the most stress. I'm one of those guys that gets a little fat and happy when I don't have to do the heavy lifting. Like sometimes when it's necessary for me to act, I act much more gracefully because I'm just like low stimulation. I need like high stimulation all the time. But anyway, I think it's just everything we're saying is important. I want all this stuff to work, but I ain't bound down to no motherfuckers about nothing. And especially guys that don't even know how much money is in the liquidity pool that they're sitting in, telling everyone in millionaires and then asking for donations from everyone for war.
I'd like to acknowledge Cryptographics for coming on. I appreciate you. I always enjoy these conversations, and I hope you do as well, because I think people get value out of them. And great to see your thoughts. It was very beautifully put. Having these conversations and the capacity to think for yourself, so that like, hey, whatever Sam's saying is working for Sam. It doesn't mean it's your prerogative. Same thing for Cryptographics, same thing for GRC. Use your functioning gray matter to think for yourself and come up with the best solution for you based upon what you see or hear or research for yourself. So that was very nicely put, Cryptographics. That's all we got for today.
I'm jacked up after graphics just went off on that. That was nice, man. But yeah, I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Let's keep the good work. Thank God there's no VCs hawking all our liquidity. That's a bonus for all of this stuff. Like we have a liquid market to a degree with real users, which is incredible. Like it's incredibly unique in crypto right now. Trust. It's all propped up baloney other than what the stuff we got going on. I'm telling you. I'm not saying everything. I'm saying a lot of stuff. But anyway, have a great day, guys. I hope you have a good one. Football's on. If you guys like that stuff, go team. And make sure you just calm yourself down. Don't make any crazy big moves, guys. Volatility galore. Please relax. Take it easy. Talk to your buddies. Talk to your mom. Maybe just go out and get a beer with your buddies instead of putting your whole life wealth into one buy tonight. Just relax. Have a great day, guys. Crypto in the Morning live every single day, 11 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you follow Cryptographics on Twitter and on YouTube. And also follow Sam and follow myself. And we will talk to you later.
You already know what time it is. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hacks and I'm making a state. Got me some Hedron, I'm making it rain. Pay me some Maxi and that's just in case. Jim Reddit sent me to show you the way.